Hello again. Precision, focus, intensity. Not too bad. That's incredible. My name is Don Love. I'm Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, grades 8 through 12. And it's my pleasure to welcome a second presenter who has a great deal in common with the Springdale School District. He's worked very closely with the National Career Academies Coalition. We have career academies here. We hosted the National Career Academy Coalition meeting here in Springdale some years back. He's worked very closely with high schools that work, as have we. Gene Bottoms, the director of that initiative, has been in this district on numerous occasions. He brings the career focus into our academic programs. Among other things, Dr. Gilberto Conchas has served as a professor at Harvard University, working with Pedro Nagara. He is also author of 3 books, one just out, I understand. He served for 2 years as Senior Program Officer for the Gates Foundation, directing their College Success Initiative. And at the current time, he is a Chancellor's Fellow at the University of California, Irvine, and Executive Director of the Career Academy Support Network. His topic today is Learning School-Smart Ways, College and Career Readiness in a Global Economy. Please help me welcome Dr. Gilberto Gil Conchas.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. Thank you for the kind introduction. And thank you, Superintendent Rollins, and the entire Springdale Unified School District family, teachers, staff, and invited guests for having me here. And I'm quite humbled to offer my observations as a professor among all you experts, teachers, because I'm sure you hear a lot of experts come in and tell you what to do, right? I believe that we are all here because our common purpose is to bridge the divide between career and technical education and the Common Core standards. And I believe the aim for all of us is to promote college and career success for all. But before I begin, I like to begin with a story. I always like telling stories. On a balmy summer day in 1981, my little brother and I climbed alone into the hills. To the boys, black-haired, dark-skinned Gil, 11 years old, that's me, and brown hair, light-skinned Jesse, 7 years old, the hills by our Ventura, California neighborhood were majestic mountains. We are headed for a grand adventure. These mustard-colored slopes, once described by Spanish settlers as part of the land of everlasting summers, were originally named San Buenaventura. Good fortune. That's what Jesse and I wanted. Good fortune and maybe some adventure too. As we hiked our neighborhood, the avenue fell behind and below us, and along with it, all thoughts of schoolwork and trouble and fighting. No father working 13 hours a day. No mother fighting and working to feed her family on $50 a week. No bus rides every day to a distant school. No money up here either, but maybe we could find some kind of treasure. When we reached the top of the ridge, I turned and looked back. From here, the avenue looked tidy, all squares and straight lines. In the distance, the Pacific Ocean yawned, sucking in the horizon. I looked down at Jesse. Let's go, I told him. Jesse obeyed, and we walked along. Our feet crunched in the crispy, summer-dried grass. I didn't know which one of us saw it first, but there they were, clusters of ripe, wild raspberries. We scrambled to the bushes, sat down, and gorged on the dusky fruit, warm and sweet, with their ashy overlay The odd-shaped clusters looked dirty, but inside, the raspberries were juicy and clean. We stuffed ourselves until I noticed the sun dropping. I told Jesse it was time. With red fingers and chins, we headed home, leaving the world of wild fruits, hawks, and birds with colored breasts. We were halfway down the hill when it started. Jesse began to act funny, complaining that he was itchy. He scratched his chest and stomach. I pulled up Jesse's shirt and saw red welts. What happened? They hadn't seen any snakes or bugs or nothing like that. I yanked my little brother's hand, rushing him home. Entering the house, I told my mother that something was wrong with Jesse's skin and that we didn't do anything wrong. We only ate raspberries. My mother, Evelia, took charge. When I went to bed, she continued, as she had been doing for hours, fanning and lightly scratching Jesse's welts. As I drifted off to sleep, I wondered, how come we could both eat the same thing, but I didn't get sick? Only Jesse, not me. My little brother Jesse is currently serving a life prison sentence. He's been in prison since he was 16. He recently celebrated his 36th birthday behind prison walls. I hope that over the course of this afternoon, we open a dialogue about how the work I do with the Career Academy Support Network at the University of California, Irvine, and Berkeley, and the Springdale Unified School District can join with you to promote college and career success. In particular, we are interested in understanding the relationship between the Common Core state standards and career and technical education. We furthermore seek to dispel the divide between college and career readiness. Research and practice show that they are both essential to providing a path to the American dream, essential for high school engagement, essential for higher levels of post-secondary enrollment, essential to promoting economic growth, and essential to combating poverty through college and career success. Kazan and the Springdale Unified School District share the same perspective about why education is so important. Education is the surest way to secure the economic health of regions and to help people develop the skills and confidence to be active members of thriving communities. My mother and father, like many other immigrant parents, ventured into unknown territory when they left their native Mexico to seek a better life for their family. They struggled every minute of their lives, but managed to sustain a family of 5 children. Although my father did not live to hear about my work, and especially lived to see his son as a Harvard professor, as a professor at the University of California, as a foundation officer for the Gates Foundation, and hopefully in the future as a professor at U of A. My teaching and my research represent his commitment and perseverance for equity and equality. As a son of Mexican immigrant farm laborers, academic research and writing has been a complex yet fascinating undertaking. Unlike many of my peers, my parents did not fully understand my chosen profession. For many years, my parents would inquire in Spanish about my schooling endeavors, and in particular, my doctoral work at the University of Michigan. Go Blue. When will you be done? And what is it that you're doing? Psychology? No, I would reply. I am studying sociology. Keep in mind that in Spanish, sociology sounds like psychology. Hijo, ¿y qué es eso? Son, what is that? My father would ask. Es el estudio de la sociedad y cómo instituciones afectan a la gente. It's the study of society and how institutions affect people, I would explain. Well, As long as you're for our people, my father explained. Si, papa, yes, father, I responded. I trust we have made my fathers and like him proud in our common quest to provide students with rigorous academics, demanding technical education, and engagement with the world of adult work. Through the dual mission of college and career readiness, we're able to connect students' learning interests and career aspirations, giving students an advantage in high school, college, and careers. We all believe that education is the best hope to achieve the American dream. It's spring 2010, and Gil, now 41, hasn't been back to the Avenue for some time. He hasn't seen Jesse for a long time either. I speed north from Orange County, where I'm a professor of education at the University of California, Irvine. I leave in the middle of the night, about 2:30 a.m. It's time to pick up my mother and drive to the state prison to see Jesse. I leave the landscaped, manufactured greenery of Irvine, a planned city of carefully modulated colors and weight limits for dogs, yet no weight limits for humans. Accelerating onto the 405 freeway, Gil passes South Coast Plaza, the largest, most upscale mall in California. I'm heading back to my childhood home, where my mother still lives. As I drive, my stomach churns. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's regret. Maybe I haven't made this trip for some time. Success as an academic has moved me far away from the low-income neighborhood, to Berkeley, to the University of Michigan, to Harvard, to Irvine, to Arkansas. But isn't this what I wanted? To get away. My mother often tells me that I should work at a university close by to the neighborhood where I grew up, and she promises to fix up her garage and make it a very special room for me. Why do some low-income and ethnic minority students do well in school and others do not? Why do some low-income boys disengage altogether and others do not, given that many come from the same community or even the same family? In my research, I argue how poverty creates vast disparities among populations, regardless of race and ethnicity. Poverty and its byproducts, joblessness, homelessness, violence, urban decay, and inadequate health care segregate poor people into economically deprived neighborhoods. Race and ethnicity matter. However, poverty and racism remain the devastating linchpins of inequality. Latinos, Native Americans, blacks, whites, and Asians in poor neighborhoods struggle to assess the hopes and dreams of those born into privilege. Over the years, Harvard sociologist William Julius Wilson's seminal text, and in particular, I'm sorry I'm getting academic, but that's what I do. In his book, When Work Disappears, highlights the devastating effects of joblessness on inner city blacks. Unemployment dismantles the foundation of family life and leads people, especially men of color, into lives full of violence, drugs, and disorganization. Wilson sensibly argues that this culture of apathy and hopelessness result from poverty and specifically joblessness. Apathy and hopelessness are not features inherent in black or Latino ethnic cultural traditions. Instead, they are the consequences of cycles of poverty. Today, in agreement with Wilson, we are not witnessing the declining significance of race. Instead, we are witnessing the enduring significance of poverty and inequality as the sources of social disorganization in low-income communities. Joblessness, in particular, lies at the root of the problems facing the urban poor, especially among black and Latino men. Joblessness and economic deprivation continue to inflict damage on communities and their populations. My little brother Jesse was getting more entrenched with street life, hanging with defiant peers, disengaging from school altogether. What was going on? why is Jesse in prison today and I have the honor of being here with you? My mother still thought that the only problem with Jesse was that he was a little hot-tempered. At this point, she even joked that maybe it was because of how she ate too much chili during her pregnancy. It's because I ate too much chile. Es que comí mucho chile. Jesse was 17 when he was ordered to stand trial as an adult. I, along with my parents, were in the courtroom for every hearing. I occasionally saw a single tear slide down my mother's face as she looked at the back of her youngest son, who wore an orange sweat outfit with the words Juno Hall on the back. I looked across the courtroom at the parents of the boy who had died. They were the same kind of folks as mine, poor, hard-working Mexican immigrants. Over the course of the trial, I could tell that each set of parents felt pain for the other. I saw it in small courtesies, glances, and gestures. Somehow, both sets of parents, less than one full generation into their foray into the United States, with so much in common, had been pitted against each other. Why? The judge sentenced Jesse to the harsher of the two possible sentences, 16 years to life. The trial was over. The authorities took Jesse away. After the trial, I returned to my studies. Now on top of my natural ambition, I wanted to work so that I could somehow help Jesse and others like him. Jesse and I held on to the hope that he would do well enough to get paroled. Then he planned to live with me and go back to school. I love the idea of having my little brother with me on campus. I applied to 8 graduate programs and was accepted to all of them. I chose the PhD program at sociology at the University of Michigan. It was a 5-year program during which I would achieve a master's and doctoral degree. Besides getting used to the weather, which wasn't easy from a brown boy from California, Michigan opened up a whole world to a variety of people, a variety of different groups of Latinos, for instance. And in 1999, I obtained my PhD sociology and accepted my first academic position at Harvard University. The car pulls into the parking lot of the state prison. It's 7:30 a.m. And when he exits the weather-controlled car, Gil feels the promise of scorching sun. I see it all over me in the cracked, parched earth. The prison's 129 acres are surrounded by razor-sharp wire and electric fence. Nothing gets in or out without notice. Every time a bird flies onto the fence and dies, it must be reported to the Department of Corrections. The prison is the most overcrowded in California's system, sometimes housing prisoners at over 250% of its capacity. The male-only population sleeps in dorms of up to 200 prisoners. The chorus of 200 snores is the least of a prisoner's worries. For someone who lives looking over his shoulder, it's not an easy night's rest. Jesse couldn't sleep for weeks after he was moved there from another prison. My mother and I and 2 of my relatives would visit him that day. And we all followed the rules. We were allowed to carry each $50 in change. And often you need a lot of change. How many people have visited folks in prison? Wow. California, it's different. So, every time we visit, we need at least 200 in quarters for the vending machines, and 1 avocado alone costs $6. When we enter the visitation room, the guard brings in Jesse. His expression is kind, but he looks beat down and stressed. I know Jesse will have a different face when he leaves the family. He must if he is to survive in prison. His skin is burned from time spent in the prison yard. Our mom busies herself with making sure that everyone has enough food, leaving me to do most of the talking with Jesse. She basks in the enjoyment of watching her sons together. She hopes and prays that due to her Trader Joe's diet, Trader Joe's, yeah, and exercise to be alive when Jesse gets out. It is her passion, it is her greatest dream. The brothers talk about going on back home with all, we talk about what's going on at home with all the nieces and nephews. One of Jesse's fellow inmates usually comes by and Jesse introduces me to, I call his colleagues in prison. And he says, "This is my brother, he is a professor and he writes books." And often the inmates, will shake my hand and they will lower their head with respect. We all have a passion to build the kind of systems in this country that will make better education and career progression available for all kinds of people, no matter where they start from and no matter what their learning needs are. We all aim to make a big difference in the lives of our nation's young people. In transforming opportunity for them, we transform it for all of us. The goal of ensuring that all students graduate from high school ready for college, careers, and life has taken hold in every state across the nation. Yet all too often, the focus on college readiness and career readiness remain in two distinct silos. Even though there is little question that reading, writing, communications, and mathematical reasoning are all core skills for success in post-secondary education, in the workforce, and for citizenship, and that educators across all disciplines should help students develop, deepen, and refine those core skills. Right now, the movement is here, and the opportunity is clear. As states are working to align their education system with the Common Core state standards in support of the goal of graduating all students ready for college, careers, and life, academic and career and technical education leaders at the state and local levels can and should maximize the opportunity to finally break down the silos between their disciplines and collectively find ways to ensure that the new standards rigorously engage all students in both academic and CTE courses. Bridging this divide, however, will happen only with intentionality and forethought at the policy and program levels. A substantial gap remains between the opportunity and need for engagement of the CTE community and CTE's current level and involvement in the implementation of the Common Core standards. And I do work around career academies, but I'm not going to get into the whole career academy. You can look at our website. I wish I had a slide, but I don't. Regrettably, and all too often, many students are caught in the battleground of poverty, subjugated to racial inequality, and are consequently incarcerated at much higher rates than high school and college completion. If only Jesse and others like him had experienced college and career pathways. However, I think we're all here because we care about ensuring success for all, and we believe, actually we know, that college and career readiness makes a difference in the lives of most students. Collaboration around shared goals is the only means by which the promise of the Common Core state standards and CTE will be realized, that all students will be academically ready for college, careers, and life. And I think together we can beat the odds and ensure success for all. Months later, I am in my office, my home office, and Jesse tends to call me collect. So this one day I receive a collect call from Jesse. Whenever he calls, Jesse likes for me to paint pictures for him, pictures of the outside world, of things he wants to see. Usually I talk about the weather or trips I have taken or news from home. On this particular day, Jesse has a certain picture already in mind. Gil, just do what I say. Okay, okay. This is what I want you to do. I want you to put your feet on your desk with your computer right there, acting like a big chingon. And a big chingon in Spanish is a nice word, an important tough guy, an important man. I'm doing it, Jesse. I'm doing it, Jesse. That's right. A big chingon, an important man talking to me. And from far away over the phone line, I hear my little brother laugh. And for just a second, a flash of time, we are children once more, standing on the ridge again, high above the avenue, above it all. Thank you.